All right. So what's going on, freaks and geeks? Welcome to the Square Round Table podcast. I want to thank all of our viewers and listeners for coming out tonight. And of course, always, we are going to bring you some very fantastic content. And tonight, guys, we have a very special guest. So without further ado, I would love you all to give a great, warm Square Round Table welcome to our guest. Our guest is an amazing stop motion artist and an animation director. So can you get up from Miss Bona Bones?
Hi.
Like I was saying before, we are very happy to have you. So thank you so much. I know you, like everybody else, you have a busy schedule. So thank you for taking time to chat with a couple nerds. We really appreciate it.
No problem.
It's great. And especially with stop motion. Like me and Joshua, we're always watching stop motion videos. Like we grew up on Robot Chicken. So this is a big deal. So we really
I love that.
But one of the thank you. And honestly, Dmitri is the reason he got in contact with you because he was just like, "Hey, dude, like I'm on TikTok. I just saw this awesome post. You got to check this lady out, see what's going on, and blah blah blah. We got to talk to her now." So from there, what the ball rolling. So it's all he made this happen.
Great.
One of the things that I want to ask you, we always do with all of our guests just before we jump in. Personally, like, how's everything been going with you? Just the mental health check. Everything is, the holidays have just ended. I know it's a big load off. So how have you been doing?
I love that. I love that that's how you started out. Yeah, I'm actually doing really good. I'm on winter break right now because I teach at the Kansas City Art Institute. And so we're still on winter break.
Oh, sweet.
And so I've just been playing God of War for 3 weeks. That's what I've been doing with my
Cool.
Oh man, how is it? I haven't started it yet. How is it?
It's so good. It's so good. It's so
can't wait.
It's super fun. And so I usually have a lot of freelance work, but I just found myself like with some free time this winter break. And so I was like, no, I'm just going to do me and I'm going to play some video games. I'm going to cook some pasta and eat some cookies. And that's it.
Hey, that sounds like a good break to me.
So you're talking cookies because me personally, like I'm a big Chips Ahoy person, the soft kind. So what are we talking about with the cookies here?
And I like really the cookies never even get made because I end up eating the cookie dough. That's what ends up really happening.
Oh, for real? So I'm going to put you on. So since you mentioned the cookie dough, you have to get. I can't. What is that ice cream? It's Ben and Jerry's.
Ben and Jerry's.
They got a chocolate chip cookie dough, but it's the one that has chocolate chip cookie dough and brownies.
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
Yeah, that one is good. Yeah,
that is next level. Like I've been so tired, but I have it in the freezer right now, and I've been planning to probably about to tear that up after we get off. But I'm glad everything has been going well for you. That is fantastic, and glad that you get a chance to have a little break because the work that you do on top of that is some really meticulous stuff. So I know you get some hand cramp. Yeah,
it's really like, what's the word for it? I don't know. Stop motion as a career is really like touch and go. So it'll be like you'll work on a project for 2 or 3 months, and that'll be all you do for 16, 18 hours a day. And it'll be months on end. And then there'll be like these big apps where like you don't have anything to work on. And so it's really weird because like I feel like, I don't know, I start to feel like I'm being a little lazy, and then I'm like, no, I deserve to do me for a second because I know the second I start picking up another project, I'm not going to sleep for 3 months.
So with that being said, I know that one thing that you said about stop motion, and I'm butchering it a little bit here, but I thought the concept was cool. You were saying you enjoyed it because it's like a collision course between like high art and something that children can enjoy. I really like that. Like, I think that's awesome.
Because it's everything, right? It's like you have to be a little bit of a painter, you have to be a little bit of a sculptor, you have to be a little bit of a costume designer, and so it takes a little bit from every art form to be able to do it, which is really satisfying.
That was really right into my next question for you. Like, where did that idea come from? Because it was a long while before I even put together what stop motion even was, how it works. How did you find yourself wanting to do that as a career, and what are the early days of that career like for you?
So I started. I'm going to date myself. I started animating on millimeter film and on a camera, or like an 8mm film camera. and you have the clicker, right? And you like take each frame. It was before the digital technology was really accessible. And so that's how I started animating. It was like I was animating on film. And so I was really drawn to it. I started when I was like probably like 17 or 18 years old. And like I had always been artsy. Like I was in the theater club and I like took film in high school. Like I really liked that kind of stuff. And stop motion combined all of these elements of theater that I really liked with the elements of filmmaking that I really liked. And I really liked designing the sets and like building it and being able to have that kind of art direction and creative control over it. And so it worked out really well. And so I applied for college at the California Institute of the Arts. And that's when I started really heavily. And we used to shoot on these things called lunchboxes. And they were like it was like really shitty, very like lo-fi, like digital way to shoot stop motion animation. And it was like the only way we could do it was on these like it would record out to like VHS, right? And so like I'd sit there with my little lunchbox and I just press the button, click and go, click, make it go, click, make it go. And then halfway through college, they developed the software that we use now, which is like like for Mac. And so we have like very easy ways to film, which are much faster.
Okay, I definitely understand. Until back then, it was like the caveman time. Like, I had like nothing to work with. That's insane.
That must have been really hard to do, like editing. Like you made a mistake. It was just like, here we go. We're gonna do it all over again. Touch your papers in there.
And you didn't know what you got until you got the film back. Like you didn't know what was there until you like physically got back from the lab. And how we did it was like we would transfer the tapes to VHS or mini DV, and then we could digitally edit it on a computer. But like you had no idea what you filmed until you got the film back.
Wow. No,
it's so crazy because I was just watching a documentary about ILM and how most of those guys that work that end up getting jobs that like back in like 60s, they was doing like stop motion. So I was like, man, how was they able to do it back then with what they had? So it's just crazy how much it's evolved over like the decades.
Yeah, they used to use these things called surface gauges. You can't see what the previous frame looked like. Now we can just talk back and forth and I can see it all visually. But it would be like a little pointer. So like when you move the puppet, you put the surface gauge on the puppet. And so that way you knew how far you moved it from the last one and then they would move it again. And that's how they would keep track of where the puppets were.
Yep.
So as far as stop motion, and I think most of the time when I guess I confuse the listeners out there, when you think about stop motion, you automatically go to like clay or things like that. So I want to know for you specifically, like, what type of mediums did you start using when you did stop motion? Were you mostly using like the armature? Have you done clay? Like what were you get started?
I've tried everything, right? Like I've worked with armatures, I've worked like ball socket armatures, I've worked with wire armatures, I've done clay. I always prefer doing like a mixed media thing. Like sometimes the answer is just a little bit of everything. And so I've always approached it that way where I'll use wire armatures and then I'll use clay for parts of the face and whatever I need to do that makes the most sense in my brain. And so that usually is just combining everything I know how to do.
No, that definitely makes sense. So you started, you went to college into college. What was the degree?
Experimental animation is technically what my degree is in.
Sick. Experimental animation.
Right.
So from there, where was like the trajectory? So I know you teaching now. Is that something you recently got into, or did you go straight from college teaching, or what happened after you graduated?
So I've always been interested in teaching, and it's something that I knew like I always had a passion for. And so like when I was in college, I taught through a program called the Community Arts Partnership. And what that program does is they help place art instructors in schools that would otherwise not have art programs or after school programs where kids can come and hang out and do art. And so we had a center like down in Skid Row, we had like in Compton and Echo Park, like all around LA. And so I worked at those locations and would work with like middle school and high school kids. And I loved it. I just loved it. Seeing a little kid get excited about animation is just so fun. Like their joy is so core for it. And so when I graduated college, like I was getting work, and so like I was working, like doing gigs, odd jobs, music videos. I ended up working at Robot Chicken, and then I decided that I wanted to go back to school to get a master's degree so that I could be a college. I just need to. I like working with college kids who like are super passionate. Like if you're at that level, like you've worked really hard. And so curious about learning about animation, and it's been really rewarding to be able to teach college kids.
Oh wow, that's awesome. I'm definitely glad about that. And as far as teaching, what is like one of the, I guess you would say, have for your students, advice that you, as far as, because I know stop motion is really difficult. So when you're trying to get them to, I guess, your class, like what is your main piece of advice for your students?
Ooh, that's a good question. That's a hard question. I literally get all the information out for one class, and so to condense it down into one statement is, I don't know, try hard, be yourself. Like I don't have a good.
Because I know I'll be sweating bullets. I can imagine any kind of animation. No way. I'm gonna need some help.
And a lot of it is like one-on-one, right? And your goals as a student might be different than somebody else's. And I try to cater like the educational experience like to the kid, right, to the student, so that it makes the most sense for what they want to do. And sometimes that's, I want to go out to LA and I want to go work in a studio. I'm like, cool, here's some numbers you can call, here's some people you can talk to, let's try to make this happen for you. And other times some kids are just like, yeah, I just want to make my own stuff and submit it to film festivals, and that's also like completely valid. And so it really depends on each person's goal.
Oh, nice. So when you teach the classes, do you focus solely on like process of animating your puppets, or do you focus on things like set design and fabrication?
I actually teach stop motion, which is funny.
Oh wow.
And so I teach the seniors, and so every year level has a studio course. So studio course for senior year is I guide them through the process of making a film and like what that looks like and what the expectations are at a professional level. And so learning how to schedule, learning how to write contracts for people involved and stuff like that. And so each student picks whatever medium they want to work in. And so I have students who are working in CG, I have students who are working like drawing traditionally, and some who are doing stop motion. And I don't actually teach stop motion animation, which is kind of like my specialty is like but it's really just preparing them for what the expectations are to be in the industry and like what that looks like and what it looks like to be a professional animator.
Oh, okay. I'm sure you've had some. Oh, go ahead, Josh. What were you about to say?
Oh, I was saying this is pretty interesting because I was going to ask, what do you need to be able to create a stop motion film? Because one thing that always confused me about stop motion is how you even combine those images into a movie.
So like now we have a software called Dragonframe, and like you can look up and like download a trial of it. It's super cool. And so Dragonframe is like the industry standard software that we all use because it's really like the only one that works really well. And so what it does is it captures all the still images and then it lines it up on a timeline so you can play it back as you're animating. And so it completely changed everything. Like it completely innovated and changed everything about the stop motion industry because it made it so easy. And it's nice because it's not like a subscription based format, and so once you buy the software you own it and like that's it, and you just have it forever, and it's great. It's $300 I think to buy it, and it's what every stop motion studio uses, like Robot Chicken, like every show uses it.
Oh, okay. I will have Robot Chicken. Sorry. Has Robot Chicken always used it? Because I just always assumed that they were like very tedious with their stuff. They were just like place it in frame, take the shot, and then do it. Has that been like something that's always been a part of Robot Chicken, like software wise?
Oh, it came out, it was when I was in college, so it must have been like 2010. And so before that, like we had lunchboxes, like I was telling you, the little machine that like and that was kind of it. Like there were some other softwares that existed, but like none of them like worked super well. There was one for a while called Stop Motion Pro. If the guys who made this ever hear this, I'm so sorry. It was such a terrible software.
Yeah, because I was wondering, as soon as you were talking about like, as soon as you said software, I was just like, oh, it's probably going to be one of those Adobe softwares where you have to pay a subscription fee, and you have to pay $500 a month.
It's insane how much they're charging for now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like, because those, like, the bad thing about the Adobe ones is that specifically, like those types of software, they're just really hard to get down with because you have to pay every month this crazy fee or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That is just a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Even then you own, yeah.
It's like, I don't have
that's
deep
great.
pockets enough for all
Yeah, it makes it accessible, and that's something that I feel like we should try to avoid as artists. Is we don't want to price people out of being able to do the work. And
right.
Exactly.
so, like, I'm free ones, right? Like, there's like Procreate. There's free apps you can download and use, but it makes it a little harder when like the industry standard is to use Adobe Suite, and so it's hard to learn that software if you can afford it.
Yeah, Adobe Premiere was a hard learning curve for me when we originally started this podcast. We used Adobe Premiere Pro, and it was so tedious. Like, you make one mistake and you have to go through your entire thing again and just stretching everything out. It was so much work.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So I understand
No, because Dmitri
that very well.
Like, I remember that.
I remember I messed up one time. I had to go back and do 4 hours worth of work all over again. It was, I was like, I'm not getting sleep tonight. This is fun.
Yeah, that's a nice part about teaching. Like, I get access to the stuff at the school, like the equipment and stuff. So it makes doing my own work a little bit easier because I'm like, oh, I need another camera. Like, I can just go check one out from the media center. That's fine. And so, like, there's a draw to it. There's perks to like being a teacher.
That's
Yeah.
That's
the one thing I do miss about being in college. You had those perks to use stuff, and you could just have access to everything. Once you go on, that's it.
Hey, Marcus, you just keep your old student card, bro.
Well, you know, mine
card.
expired 2 years ago. I can't use
Here's
it.
the thing. They don't look at it like that. You just flash it real quick. You flash it real quick and you're moving.
I'm telling you.
All right, Marcus will go out there and try to use it still. Yeah, but I just been that was like kind of bring me to my next point, because as far as stop motion is concerned, I was wondering, like, what are the best kind of cameras to use? Because I was thinking like you could just use like like those really fancy iPhone commercials, and there's this, oh, this was shot on iPhone. You can do all this on the iPhone. You don't need a camera. I always thought those were kind of suspect. So yeah, is there any like a specific camera you use?
Yeah, we use DSLRs, and so like I have a Canon Rebel, like that's the kind of model that I have, and so we use traditional like photo cameras, not like video cameras, because we're taking pictures.
Oh, okay.
But you can do stuff on your phone. I think that's a great place to start. You can download stop motion apps on your phone, and a lot of sometimes I'll do workshops with like younger kids, and I'm like, yeah, just your mom's phone, go ham, go weird, and it's a great starting point.
Okay.
Okay. That's what's up. Because I definitely didn't even think of that. I remember me and Joshua, we wanted to do stop motion a while back. I think we got him a camera, and that was like the end of it. Like, we just.
The funny thing about that is I actually made like a few like small movies, but I specifically asked about the software because on my laptop I couldn't figure out a way to merge the photos into a single video, so I just didn't really figure out.
Now you got me.
Right?
Exactly. Look, Josh, you can bring the camera back out now. You got a professional right here.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
I just think it's awesome too that you get to teach these kids about stop motion and animation. And I just think it's cool, period, now that's like a thing, because I know even when I was coming up in high school, it was starting to come like a thing where it was like, oh, you can learn this when you go to college, and you can learn animation and blah, blah, blah. But it really didn't get like big until I almost was coming out of college. And I just think it's so awesome that that's a thing that these kids can pick up before they even get out there. And you got like kids that's like my niece age, who like 5, who can learn stop motion and be doing it like a professional by the time they like 10.
Yeah.
So it's just, I think it's so cool. So we gotta take our hat off to you for that, because that's really dope.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's great. Like animation, especially stop motion, kind of exists in this space where like it's art, like absolutely, but it's also it's great. And animation is one of the fastest growing industries in the world. Everything is animated now. Ads on TV, like TikTok, Instagram, like the user interface in your car, like somebody has to animate that stuff. And so it's just an in-demand career that it makes it really fun and easy to like get excited about it because there's just so much opportunity that's happening with it now. Like just be even beyond TV and film. Like my friend just got a job animating slot machines for Vegas. Like that's cool. Like, you know, and that pays the bills. Like absolutely.
It does. Yes.
No, seriously. And speaking more on that, one thing that we were talking about earlier is a student. You know, specifically navigate stop motion, teach them how to an artist. And one thing that when I was researching this, I thought was so cool is that you're literally like, I just want to know how you put yourself out there, because you're literally going from Foo Fighters to, it's like, what is that? We'll get to a lot. So how are these people? How they even know who you were? Like, how did you market yourself when you were coming out of college?
So like the key is just having a really good demo reel. Is like doing work. You have to have like a demo reel to show, because like I've never had an animation look at my resume. They always look at my demo reel. They want to see what kind of stuff I'm animating. So I spent, when I was in college, I worked really hard on putting together a demo reel that like would get me work. And the first job I got, the first like real job I got out of college was like working on a Cage the Elephant music video. And so the work started coming in, and it was slower at first, right? Like it was a hustle. It was a grind. Like I was like 21, living in Los Angeles, just like applying to every single job on Craigslist at the time, because I don't even think there was like good.
Oh wow.
Even good like job boards at the time, like Craigslist, and applying to every single job I could find. And once you get a foot in the door, it's really easy to make lateral moves into other jobs at other places. And so like I got the Cage the Elephant music video, and that music video ended up being really popular. And so from there, it was much easier to be like, hey, I did this thing and I worked on this and animated on this, and this did really well. And so getting the attention and getting people to call me back was easier. Now I'm to a point where I don't necessarily have to apply for stuff the same way I did. Like people will call me and they'll be like, oh, hey, we have we had you in mind because we know your work. And that's like the dream. Like that's the place you want to be at, right? Is like calling.
Hey, here's some money.
That's a goal, right? That is a goal. You don't have to.
Yeah.
Like, literally answering phone money. It's true. That's awesome. So as far as like that's concerned, one thing I wanted to know, so you went from then, how's the process of you getting to like how that marriage?
So I worked at Shadow Machine, and that's the studio that just made the new Pinocchio movie. And so I worked at Shadow Machine, and they were the studio that produced Robot Chicken. And then Seth Green decided to leave. I don't know the details. I know it was messy, but Seth Green decided to leave and make his own studio, right? His own stop motion studio. And because I was working at Shadow Machine, a lot of those people, and I was like, I worked the front desk. Like this was not like this. I wasn't like, oh, I work at Shadow Machine. I worked the front desk. I was the receptionist because I was 20 years old. It was like the only job I could get, and so I was like, whatever, I'll take it. I was a terrible receptionist. I'm not good at it. I'm very bad at telling people to call back. Like it's a mess. And people that I met at that studio were moving over when Seth started his new studio. And so I was just like, take me with you. Please, I want to be an animator. I can't answer any of my phone calls. And so they brought me on as an intern at first, and it was season 5 at that point. And so they brought me on as an intern for season 5, and I interned for 4 or 5 months. They ended up calling me back to pay me as an animator, do something. It was a commercial. What was it for? Oh, I did some Ziploc commercials for him. And then I started working. I was doing odd jobs, like when they would have freelance contract come through, like I was animating like little odd jobs for him. And then I ended up on full-time as an animator on season 10 and 11.
Oh, nice. As far as how it worked, because I think me and Joshua, we always had a date. So Do you? I know, of course, you guys want a lot of different. Is it armature puppets, or do you guys work with real toys as well?
It depends. So most of the time it's armature puppets and they're made out of silicone. And so they're not actually hard, they're soft. They're modeled after Mego action figures. And they make them look like toys, but they're actually like soft silicone puppets. For certain cases though, where like we buy the toys. And it's always funny talking to the puppet department because my friend Caroline Kostelek was like the head of the puppet department for a long time. She'd be like, I just had to spend 5 hours on eBay trying to find a Playmobil toy. I'm like,
Hilarious.
terrible. I don't envy you. And so sometimes we use the real toys, but it's not as frequent.
Oh, okay. And
Oh, okay.
is it a different
Yeah.
department for? Oh, what about this?
Oh, I was just saying. Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because a lot of those toys y'all use are like actually rare.
No, seriously.
Mhm.
They're
Sorry.
it's a small fortune, like what they spend on action figures, and then it's funny because like we have
Exactly.
animate, we have to like these things to make them animate, and so I'm sure they spend a small fortune on like collectible toys.
Y'all just told like Barbie
Right.
$100 and buy it for $2.
We break them all the time because if you're moving it over and over again, you're stressing that joint, right? And break all the time. And so we have like a little puppet hospital. We call it the puppet hospital. And it's like where the puppet department can repair what the animators break. Sometimes they're not that fond of us. Sometimes the puppet people are like, fuck you animators. Like
They can't stand it.
Yeah, like
You bring them a pile of
this,
toys,
like-
just like fix it. You're just like,
exactly. Just like all those rare He-Man and G.I. Joe figures ruined.
which animators are like blacklisted from the expensive puppet.
I'm just telling y'all right now, like all the collectors that never take anything out of y'all cause all kind of that. Like,
Yeah.
especially with like Marcus and old Star Wars figures.
Hey man,
you gotta keep them in packing.
some of them you keep them in there, but some of them you gotta take them out, man.
Yeah, some of you do. Yeah.
Some of them you gotta take them out of the box.
No,
We have a
that
big library too. It's really cool. It's huge. And it's just boxes. Library sounds good there though. But we have it all in storage. And so like some of the puppets, like I was animating a Scooby-Doo sketch for season 11. And it was the same Scooby-Doo puppet from season 2. And this thing was falling apart and looked so janky. But it's if you build the puppet once, like it just goes into a box. So that way if it's like a popular character, like the Kool-Aid Man, like we use the Kool-Aid Man a lot. And so and like it brought back out all the time.
That's funny.
That's funny.
Yeah.
I gotta ask this then. What was like your favorite like character? What was your favorite sketch to like animate?
Bitch Pudding.
Yes.
Bitch Pudding's like the funnest one.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
Yes.
She's like,
Yes.
yes.
I mean, she's so sassy and she's so funny. And so all of her lines are just like hilarious. And so she's like the most fun one to animate.
Yes.
That's dope.
Yes. Yes.
That's
Like that's cool. Yeah. But I want to know, do you guys put like the actual robot chicken puppet and the scientist puppet in like a special place?
Yeah. So like when you walk into the studio, like those ones are like on display. Like when you come in to like area, so that because those are like the famous ones. And they have a little display in the lobby where like you can see some of the older puppets that they had used.
Yeah, I would keep those behind like a vault and key and lock and everything. Like people would not see them until they were on the scene. Because like as much time if you go through puppets, like how are you gonna find too many of those or make too many of those?
Yeah, a lot of it.
I would hope.
And go through what was it? It's like over 1,000 puppets a season. It's crazy. The amount of through a season is like insane. So they're just like out there popping them out. And so all the bodies, like most of the bodies are like the same. So like we have one male body and one female body, and just make them and make them out in like different colors and stuff. And then the heads are replaceable. And so we'll just use like the same bodies and replace the heads a little bit faster. But they have like all these like big display cases that are like cool, like Walking Dead special. They did like all those are in a display case, so you can like see those, like the DC specials and stuff like that. out. They always try to put that stuff out, so enjoy it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I have to go through that area and see
No, I
those,
love
those,
that.
those puppets. I would, yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that was,
But another question I had was, do you guys like recycle the mouse, or does like every puppet have like their own set of mouse?
I was just like that.
Originally, the mouse were stickers. I think I have sent to some.
I would do.
The mouse were originally stickers, and like we changed them
Oh.
every time we had to like make a different sound. Now they are done digitally in post production, where they just track the mouth on. And so like, when they track the mouth, they make it look like paper, like it's still a sticker, but it's all digital now, and so we don't even have to fuck around with the mouse anymore, which is like great because it's tedious to change those and make sure you put them on.
Because I was going to ask if there was a separate department that did that. Or
I wouldn't be
same,
surprised if she said, "Oh, there's a
animators do
department
that.
for mouth." I'd be like, "Oh, of course there is." I wouldn't even.
The mouth department.
We have they're called track readers. We have track readers. And so the track reader is kind of like an entry level position where like they'll go through and they'll write down all the dialogue and like what frame it happens at. And so when I'm looking at the software, I can see, oh, at frame 10, he starts saying the word go. And so then I can see like it happens from frame 10 to 15 is G, and then frame 16 to 20 is O. And so that's how I'll know how to change the mouth, or how we did. And there's a department that does all the track reads. And so like they'll check everything out so we know what we're doing.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that is.
Okay, so there is an mouth
Really,
department. Yeah, I know.
Do you do the fabric for that show?
Do I do what?
When you wear fabric and all of that stuff for the
Sorry. Oh, no. About chicken, I just animate.
Oh, yes, I did.
And I don't
Oh, okay.
I don't do anything else.
Oh.
It's G because if my shot's not ready, I'll just be like, call me when my shot's ready. And I'll just like read a book. It doesn't happen super often, but sometimes there have been days where like I will go into work and the shot's not ready. There's a problem with the lighting that they're like trying to figure out, or something is just delaying launching the shot. And so I can't get started. So I'll just go in and collect my paycheck and just play Nintendo all day. It doesn't happen often.
That's
has happened.
so fun.
That's awesome.
Like I said, that's baller.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's dream right there, man. Come and collect your check and play Nintendo Switch after that. Yeah.
You
I
right.
just gotta sit on the stage and wait for the
Yeah,
director to tell me to go. And so sometimes you'll have a couple of hours of downtime between shots, but like once the shot goes, then it's
Yeah, that's when you get
Yeah.
moved.
So do you
Man.
guys take shifts, or like how many? For instance, like I don't know, like maybe one of the Star Wars scenes. Like how many animators doing that at once, or is it like one person doing the scene?
it's usually one person per like stage. And so if there's two scenes, if there's a Star Wars scene where like it's in the canteen, and then there's another part of the scene where they're like on the Millennium Falcon or whatever, those will be two different sets. And so we can have two different animators working at the same time. And so sometimes there are scenes being done at the same time. For the smaller like one-off sketches, like it's usually just like one person. Every episode ends with like a longer sketch. And so the longer sketch at the end of every episode, that's usually 4 or 5 different animators, like all animating at the same time. And so it can be weird because sometimes like you don't have the context for what happened in the shot before or like the shot after you. And so you'll be like, why am I animating this guy with a sword coming out? I don't, all right, whatever.
You guys like don't have storyboards by it to kind of walk you through it all.
We do. It's just like we don't necessarily always have time to be checking it constantly, and so we'll just watch the parts that are relevant to us versus watching the whole episode. Because it's faster. If we had to watch the whole season storyboards, like I feel like we would have to sit there for 2 days and just watch it all.
Yeah. Just come in and say, I'm gonna do my part, and I'm gonna come out.
How long did they give you guys the Papa episode out? Like it's a varies, but just in general.
So for season 10, I think we started animating, I want to say in April. And then we animated from April till September to animate that season. And so what happens is we'll animate, is it 20 episodes? I think it's 20 episodes in this season. I forget. And so we'll animate like the first half of the season, and then we'll be finishing up. By the time the season starts airing, we'll finish up the last episodes. And so it's like a rollover on it. And so we're expected to make, like, our quota is 8 seconds a day. And the only reason they keep me around is because I can make 12 seconds a day because I am a diva. That's what I'm very nice to work with. But I'm be a little bit more outgoing than the rest of the a big presence on set, and I'm sure that the only reason they keep me around is because I can animate pretty fast. And so 8 seconds a day is like the quota, and so it breaks down to it takes about an hour to animate 1 second, which is pretty standard for like most stop motion. Leica has, I think their quota is something ridiculous. Their quota is 3 seconds a day because like they're doing like such detailed animation, like they have a very low quota, but most places that's like the average.
Yeah.
Wow. Would you know how long it took to like, or how long it takes to make like one season?
Yeah, so to make the whole season, it takes from about like March to October, November, and then we have like an off season, right? Like when we're not filming.
Wow.
All the shows we're not filming. It's usually just like post production, finishing up, like editing the last couple of episodes.
It's a lot of time to dedicate to it.
It's a whole lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how long did it take to get that? Because I'm sure, like, I'm animating, you want to start an like, you know, like 12-cent warrior right now. So, like, how did it take to get there?
Oh, dude, I didn't know I was fast, and so I didn't know I was fast until there was a production meeting. They were talking about having to make cuts, and my name came up, and they were like, "We can't get rid of her. She's busting out 12 seconds a day." And someone told me that happened, and I was like, "Whoa, neat! I guess I'm really good, right?" I'm the hitter you bring in, like when you're like, "I have to meet this deadline by the end of the day. We need to get seconds." But after they told me that, I became a monster. I was like, 12 seconds a day, 12 seconds a day.
As you, oh my goodness! So now you're like, by the time I come on set, lights better be right, or I'm just gonna get my coffee.
Right? Where's my water?
Okay, where's I want green M&Ms, just green.
Just the green.
All right, if I see just one red M&M, I'm out.
I'm walking.
12 seconds they happen today if I see a red M&M.
It became like a running joke too, because like my first day back on season 11, when I came in, they were like, "We're gonna give you a 27-second shot and see if you can do it." And I was like, "All right, bet."
No, that's like that's really cool. That's really cool. We think like a lot of the stuff that you're doing right now, like, is super dope, and especially teaching. I know that's what you're currently doing. You're taking a break from it right now. So, do you have any big things coming up in 2023? Any big projects you can actually talk about?
So I want to start making like my own work again, because I've been working on other people's stuff for a long time, and so I'm thinking about doing my own film and seeing how that works out, which might be just a nightmare. So we'll see how that goes, but I'm trying to get the ball rolling on that. I haven't found out if I'm going back to shoot Robot Chicken this summer, but I'm hoping that comes through too. I would love to go back and be on the next season, and so hopefully that works out.
Awesome.
You're the 12-second warrior. I mean, like you said, you're there.
You're the 12
Coming
seconds
back.
back.
Gotta bring back.
Yeah, you're coming back. It's already confirmed, all right?
Yeah, no, like you're just the trump card.
Like literally,
Right?
Like literally. So, yeah, there's no way they're not bringing you back.
Basically.
For sure.
But another question I had is, what's the difference between, how does stop motion differ from being a prop designer and a fabricator?
They're all related, right? Like they're all part of the same process. At a larger studio like Robot Chicken, like we have different departments for them. But like when I'm doing like music videos or like smaller projects, like I'm doing all of it. Like I'm building and animating and doing everything. And so like you have to know a little bit of everything to be able to do it. And so you have to understand the fabrication process to be able to animate well.
Okay.
Oh, okay. And what are one thing you started doing first? Like for instance, like I know you started, I don't know, like from college, I know you're saying that you like did a lot of just straight up stop motion, but where did the fabrication part come in, that learning curve happen for you?
So I think it started like when I was a theater kid. Is I really like to build the sets and paint the sets, and that was like my jam. Is like I worked in the costume department and like doing the sets. I really loved doing that in theater. And like those skills just translated over so perfectly because it's just like the same thing but miniature. And so like it was like already had this understanding from working in our high school plays and stuff. I had this understanding of what that looked like. And so when I started doing stop motion, it was like very second nature. Like I already knew how to do it.
I know in school, like everybody went to you to try to get dioramas. I know you had the bomb dioramas in school. You have that one class, and every year some kind of diorama or something. So yeah, you were like the one person I would have to come to get that done. But you were saying that you like theater. So do you like musical theater?
I do.
There you
go. Musical theater.
Here you go. You gotta understand. He a big like musical guy.
He's a music nerd. Yeah, he's a musical nerd for sure.
I just had to see if I was among family. That's all. Big musical theater geek here. Like I was one. I didn't really know what it was. It's almost like the thing when you're like a little kid, you don't really know what you feel it, but you don't really know what the thing is. So when I was in high school, I heard Defying Gravity for the first time. They took everybody, and because we have this big theater department because I went to performing arts high school. And when I saw it, I was like, oh, that's the thing. I like theater. And everything came together. I'm like, dude, this is it. And now I'm just, I'm destroyed. It is what it is.
Yeah, it is destroying, man. Like it is. I am part of that geek hood for sure. I try to downplay it in public, but
you kind of got you can't just let the flag fly all the time. You got to just chill a little bit. But as soon as you said theater, I was like,
yeah, I lettered in theater in high school. Like I varsity
nice.
theater, and then I went to the Shakespeare Festival in Oregon, and I was involved in like all of our school plays every year. That was
nice.
That's what's up. So you were definitely around family. I'm the exact same. So we're here. We understand each other. We are definitely.
He like let out the like theater version of the bat signal. Theater.
Exactly. Right. It's just instead of the bat signal, it's like the smiling mask and the
there you go. Yeah. That's perfect.
Yeah.
So,
that's perfect.
Oh my god.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, like Chad Torrigo was like. Chad Torrigo was theater man. He's in theater all the time.
Yeah, man. Fan of the Opera. Like that's it. That's the
man. I just made my boyfriend watch the Family Opera movie. He had never seen it before, and I was like, "Yo, this hits hard." Like
hard. And the funny part is, every time, same here. Every time I try to introduce somebody, they're just like, "Man, I don't like that." Blah blah blah. I'm like, just try it. Just try it. And after that, they're hooked. They're like, what is this? This is crazy. I'm like, yeah, I told you. Stephen Schwartz, any musical by Stephen Schwartz is it's tops. Like Stephen Sondheim, like any of that. Those are like gateway drug musicals. I'm nerding out, y'all. It's okay.
All right,
hey, man, you got your.
Because Marcus is like,
hey, I love it, man. I'm here for all of it. I love it,
man.
This is your moment.
Hey,
but
safe, man.
Hey, cool. I'm glad to know that. But what's the last? Have you been to any shows lately? I guess like before the pandemic and all that stuff.
God, it's been a while. What was the last thing I seen? I think the last thing I saw was like My Fair Lady. Like I went to go see a production of My Fair Lady. But I feel like it's been so long because the pandemic happened and then I haven't really been going back since then. But now that things are starting to like, I don't want to say get better because that's like still around, but now that things are like getting more comfortable, I'm definitely gonna try to figure out like where in KC to see some like good theater.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah, I gotta get back out there because I want to go see the Lion for sure.
Man.
The last thing I went to see. Yeah, so Mark, we definitely got to go see the Lion King. I think I took Joshua to see Dear Evan Hansen. That was the last musical we actually went to. So if you haven't seen that, Bona, definitely go check out Dear Evan Hansen. It's awesome.
I wanted to watch the movie, but I heard the movie's very bad.
Yeah, it's fun. Don't do that.
Yeah, I was wondering why nobody really talked about it after it came out. Like there was so many advertisements for it before it actually came out, and when it came out, it was just dead air. Nobody said anything.
And I was like,
Because it's a
no,
weird
no,
vibe.
Cats came out, man. When the Cats movie came out, like people,
Oh man,
no,
yes.
no.
They
no.
was going in.
Yeah.
it was rough,
No.
man. But I love it. I love the new Cats movie because it's the perfect drinking game. Like it is so weird. It is so bizarre. I don't know who made those choices. Also, I know this because I know somebody who like worked on it, and they like, oh, what's the guy who plays the lead Tomcat? What's his name?
It's not Idris Elba, is it? That's not him.
No,
Or
the other
I
one.
can't remember.
Oh man,
Because I tried to
Yeah.
scratch that one from my mind.
I tried to erase it out of my head.
Oh, Jason.
Yeah.
Is that his name?
Oh, Jason Derulo. Yeah.
They had to go in
Oh
and
my gosh.
see to make his jump smaller because like the suit was so tight that they had a team go in and make his jump smaller.
Oh my gosh.
That is
Things we're spending money on. You know
Right?
what I'm saying? Like,
People were
that's
just like, man, you know what my job is? I got to make his stuff smaller. That's what I do today.
But
Right?
Jeez. But that was somebody's job. They got up, got some coffee that morning. They were in traffic. They were in traffic on the way to work. And then when they get there, they got to make a guy's junk smaller. And that's how they get their check. That's
Right.
something
Oh.
right there.
Like they had a whole
my
day.
gosh.
They got up, they made breakfast.
hey, that's a great skit right there,
Right?
man.
Yeah, that's a very good.
Well,
Right.
goodness. Yeah, that's a whole lot.
Oh
That is a
man.
whole lot. But
Man.
Yeah.
yeah, and I'm so glad I didn't sit through that movie. Like the CGI just took me out of it.
Yeah, I saw the CGI and I said
And that
no.
you said that, like I didn't even know. Yeah, no, and I'm gonna be thinking about that little nugget of information that I had no idea about before.
now
Now
you know.
you-
It's not going anywhere. It's up here now.
Oh man, that is too funny.
That's
Crazy.
gold.
But Bona, it has been such a pleasure having you on the show and talking to you. And I just want to thank you so much for taking the time out to chat with us, man. Like we
Yes.
appreciate
Yeah,
it.
of course. Yeah, of course. This is great. Thank you for having
Of
me.
course, and again, you're more than welcome to come back anytime. And
Always.
you know, we definitely,
Yes.
and we definitely know the folks at Robot Chicken. Like I said, they're itching to get you back right now.
1
So
second. So,
Right.
Yes.
Right?
12
Like a
seconds.
legend.
12 seconds. You know what I'm saying?
12 seconds.
12 second legend, like
12
Oh,
second
all right,
legend.
thank you guys.
no problem. Because I enjoy the rest of your night, and also before you get out of here, definitely let all of our listeners know where they find you on social media, like projects that you have coming out, stuff that you worked on, anything you want to let them know. The floor is yours.
Oh yeah, so you can go to my website, it's bonabones.com, and like from there you can find like all my social media and stuff. I'm also on TikTok, bona.bones.
Nice. So no worries for all of our viewers and listeners out there. We will put all of that good information in the description below. And once again, guys, guess what time it is?
Shameless
Yes.
promotion.
Shameless promotion.
I'm definitely feeling it. I'm feeling it, bro. But yes, it is definitely time for our shameless promotion.
Shameless
So you
promotion.
can catch our podcast, this amazing podcast, on all of our other episodes on our website, guys. And that website is squareroundtablepod.fandomem.com. And one more time, that is squareroundtablepod.fandomem.com. And go ahead, D. Floor is yours, bro.
Oh, you can also catch us on Rap Tuesdays and Thursdays, right? Yeah, and
7 p.m.
7 p.m. If you can't catch us on those two places, you can catch us on YouTube, Square Round Table Pod. Or the Square Round Table?
Yeah, Square Round Table.
Okay, I want to make sure.
It's just
Square Round Table Podcast. And if you like the video, smack the like button. Tell us anything about, comment about anything about this video that you like, whether it's your burning questions about Robot Chicken or the cat's information you just now found out about.
Wow.
Also, share the video because that really helps us out a lot. And share the notification bell inside of the video so you get notified of this video and future videos. And follow us on our social medias, our TikToks, Twitters, Instagram, and that pesky Facebook group.
Pesky Facebook.
Yep. So we definitely need some more friends and followers on that Facebook group. Like he said, comment on the video or subscribe. We dare you guys to match any stop motion animator with the one we've interviewed today. Y'all ain't got them 12 seconds.
Yeah,
Y'all
you ain't got the chop.
Y'all
Legend.
got it.
You can't do it. It's not possible.
Y'all are in the 8s and the 9s.
We got the 12.
We got
right
the
here.
12.
Y'all.
Right here.
Oh, guys, there you go. On that, everybody, including our amazing guest for the evening, to introduce themselves one more time before we head out. And as always, I'm your host, Chad Singleton.
And I'm your host, Dmitri.
And I'm your host, Josh Singleton. Hashtag yes, hashtag no.
And I'm your host, Marcus Long.
And I'm Bona Bones.
All right. And this has been the Score Roundtable podcast, guys. We are out.